If you thought that the week was going to close out like this and I wasn't going to say anything, think again. Ladies and gentlemen, we saw a little bit of a spike today. It looks like we may have closed just a hair under $5. And boy, oh boy, what a week it has been. There was a press release earlier in the week regarding an investigation that they conducted independently, and a shareholder letter basically came out about it that was released by the board of MPW. I'm going to share that with you just momentarily. So here's the background. Independent members of MPT's board of directors stand firmly behind management. The independent members of the Board of Directors of Medical Properties Trust, Inc. today released a letter to shareholders regarding the findings of an independent forensic investigation into short-selling allegations, including with respect to the transactions between the company and Steward Healthcare. The board's audit committee engaged Wachtell, Lipton, and Rosen and Katz to conduct this investigation, which was completed in February 2023. Now, it's pretty interesting from here. We're going to get into the content of the letter. The first part of the letter reads as follows. Dear fellow shareholders, over much of the last 2 years, Medical Properties Trust has been the target of considerable scrutiny from short-selling hedge funds, as well as certain media outlets. As fiduciaries for our shareholders, the board treats these matters with the utmost seriousness. In response to certain claims asserted by Viceroy Research, the board's audit committee engaged Wachtell Lipton in early 2023 to conduct an independent investigation into the short seller allegations, including with respect to MPT transactions involving Steward Healthcare beginning in 2016. Wachtell Lipton in turn retained a leading global consulting firm to assist with the financial forensics as a part of this investigation. No limitations or restrictions were placed on the scope of the investigation, and management cooperation with the investigation was exemplary. As has been previously reported, in March 2023, MPT filed suit against Viceroy for defamation, civil conspiracy, and tortious interference, among other claims. Due to the active and sensitive nature of this litigation, the board kept the investigation findings confidential at that time. However, as the OCCRP and Boston Globe resurfaced many of those same allegations in their respective stories published on October 9th, 2024, we believe it is now critically important for all investors to have access to this information. Yeah. So essentially, certain news outlets are publishing articles just regurgitating what are being reported here as false claims according to the results of the independent investigation as true. And the origin of these claims seems to be from the short sellers. So the board, it seems, felt compelled to release this letter earlier this week with some of the results of the findings of the independent investigation, and there is more. It goes on to say the key findings of the investigation are as follows. Number 1, the investigation identified no evidence that MPT gratuitously overpays its operator tenants for real estate. 2, the investigation identified no evidence of improper round tripping. Number 3, the investigation found no evidence of improper recognition of, quote, uncollectible rent through GAAP-mandated straight-line rent revenue recognition. The investigation also found no evidence to substantiate the allegation that MPT was required to consolidate Steward's financial results. The investigation concluded that neither Manolet Health nor MPT has any ownership in any interest in any Malta property or hospital. Number 5, the investigation yielded no evidence that management manipulated acquisitions or other metrics to meet compensation targets. And finally, number 6, the investigation yielded no evidence of concerns regarding management integrity. And I think that's important because the short narrative, the thesis, whatever they've been putting out, has basically been that they've been saying it's a fraud. They've been saying it's going to zero because management is committing like the biggest fraud ever seen on Wall Street, and why aren't the authorities doing something about it and everything else. Now, if we believe the results of the independent investigation, that is really just a bunch of noise and nonsense, apparently. Now, I can understand why they kept this card close. They probably wanted to bring this out specifically for the litigation that they're involved in. And unfortunately, the stock has recently experienced a big price drop before today. And that was probably part of what led them to feel the need to do this, because, again, these same old tired talking points got very recently regurgitated by some news outlets. And essentially, unfortunately, narrative has a big impact on how shares trade. And so there you go. There is, I think, one last paragraph here in the letter. Before we finish that letter, I want to just remind you all that if you wish to support the channel, you can do so in multiple ways, but one of the best is by signing up to our sponsor, which is Moomoo, using my exclusive link below, as you get access to 8.1% bonus APY and up to 15 free stocks when you deposit $1,000. This is probably one of the most mutually beneficial ways you can support the channel. Now, back to the shareholder letter. They conclude with this. Our board continues to stand firmly behind our management team. During Steward's lengthy bankruptcy process, MPT's team worked tirelessly to avoid hospital closures, protect jobs, and ensure continuity of care for patients. Our recently announced global settlement agreement with Steward and its creditors, which was approved by the bankruptcy court in September, enabled MPT to take back control of its real estate, which is the important thing, immediately transition operations to what they're calling quality replacement operators, and sever its relationship with Steward. With Steward's removal from our portfolio, we look forward to demonstrating the strength and resilience of MPT's diversified portfolio of hospital real estate, our ability to create value for shareholders over the long term, and the importance of our business model to an industry in dire need for more capital solutions. Sincerely, the directors. So they just are basically doubling down and reaffirming that the board and all of its independent directors are standing firmly behind management, and the board's duty, first and foremost in any publicly traded company, is to serve the interests of shareholders. So unless we think that every independent director on this board is in on some fraud, some kind of conspiracy or something, in cahoots with management and with whoever else, honestly, the more people are required to keep some kind of big fraudulent conspiracy afloat, the less likely it is to stay a secret conspiracy for very long. So I personally don't buy that. I think that management has done their best to deal with kind of a crap sandwich with regards to what's all been happening with Steward, and more or less that they've done everything that they think is reasonable to be responsible with the assets and preserve their value to whatever extent they can, and get control back of the assets again so that they can get back to the business of creating shareholder value. That's just, my take here. I kind of more or less believe what is in this letter to be true, and I'm still holding my stock. All right, I have not sold. I did not sell at the top and take a short position or do anything like that. Ladies and gentlemen, that's where I'm at with MPT right now. If you did in fact make it to the end of the video, I'd like to offer my great admiration and appreciation for you. You're a real one. Make sure that you consider liking for the algorithm, subscribing for more, joining my Discord, linked in the description. Also, to support the channel, you can either be a member or you can sign up for today's sponsor, Moomoo, with my exclusive link. Also, you can find me on the X platform at Mr. Macho Mog. I really appreciate the follows there. Trying to get to 500 still. It's a slow grind, but we're getting there one step at a time, ladies and gentlemen. Take it easy, everyone. Have a wonderful day.